Hey, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. As you can see, today we're taking a look at the X-Treme X-Men Omnibus Volume 1 by Chris Claremont. Here is the cover, which features most of the team of this run. Here is the spine of the book, which might be our first rogue spine, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. And I would do a southern accent for you, because I've done, like, Kurt's German accent before, and other accents, but I'm really bad at southern accents, so we'll save that for maybe another day. And here is the back of the book, which says, Extreme challenges demand extreme X-Men, and then we can see all of the issues that are in the book. I always love when they do that. Alright, and as we crack this open, let's go over what this collects. This collects Uncanny X-Men number 389, X-Men number 109, X-Treme X-Men number 1 through 24, and the 2001 annual, X-Treme X-Men Savage Land 1 through 4, X-Men Unlimited 36, and X-Treme X-Men Posse 1 and 2. Alright, so probably one of the immediate questions you might have if you're interested in getting this omnibus and you're interested in the X-Men is where this comes in the X-Men reading order. And my understanding, and it's kind of in this book a little bit too, is that this storyline is going on at the same time as Grant Morrison's new X-Men book is going on. And for those who don't know, what started my X-Men obsession was buying Grant Morrison's new X-Men omnibus. And at that point, I didn't really know much about Storm or Rogue or some of these other characters that show up in this book, so I didn't know why they were missing from New X-Men, but there is a reason that this team sort of breaks off from Manchester and the Academy, and they go do their own thing. They go and embark on their own quest. So I don't know about the volume 2 for this omnibus because I've not read that material and it's not even a volume that's been solicited to my knowledge yet. But this might be a little complicated, but if you're a new X-Men reader, this is probably not the best place to start. If you want to do modern X-Men, I'd probably say go for Grant Morrison's new X-Men. But if you are not a new X-Men reader and you have some background knowledge on these characters and sort of the situations they've been dealing with, then I believe if you haven't read New X-Men yet by Grant Morrison, it makes sense to read this one first, I think. Like I said, I can't say anything about the Volume 2 or where that will go, but for now, I would do X-Treme X-Men Volume 1, and then go to New X-Men by Grant Morrison. But what is this book, and who are the X-Treme X-Men, and why did they break off from the other X-Men and sort of go on their own mission? Well, my friends, this is Claremont returning to write the X-Men within Marvel continuity. Now, it's not my favorite Claremont story by any metric, but it's still really refreshing to read more of his work. Just the way he tells stories flows so nicely, and of course, there's a few missteps in my opinion in here, and really though, that's the case with every writer. Claremont with the X-Men, though, is always just a thrilling ride in a world that he makes feel extremely real, and he handles his characters so delicately, but exactly how they need to be handled because they're basically his babies. He knows what to do with them. He knows what they need to move forward. So as a hardcore X-Men fan and a Claremont fanboy, I enjoyed this overall. I thought it was really fun. And the plot was something that has been of interest to me and I wanted to learn more about. And I picked this up not even knowing that it would expand upon this, but it did anyway, and that is Destiny's Diaries. For those who don't know, Destiny is a mutant precog who has the ability to see possible different futures. She's married to Mystique, and she's played an incredibly substantial role on Krakoa, I would say. And this was a character who was dead for a long time, but something that she did before she died within Marvel continuity was she wrote down in these diaries this mass vision of the future or the branches of the future, basically what would happen, what extinction events would lead to the demise of mutants and humans with them, and any other kind of possible scary future. And so as it is with any comic, there's a bunch of different mini stories in here, a lot of plot beats, but the central story is about finding Destiny's Diaries. That is the ones that haven't already been found. Charles Xavier has some, and if I'm remembering correctly, it was actually Mystique who gave over those diaries to Charles Xavier, because something I found really fascinating within the story and sort of revolving around those diaries is Mystique was saying basically her and Destiny spent their lives trying to figure out what the diaries meant, because there wasn't a lot of intent when Destiny was writing them. It was kind of just this overflowing prophecy that she just had to get on the page, and not all of the diary is in English. not all of it is in language. Some of it is collage, some of it is drawing, some of it is just very, very abstract. So they spent their lives trying to determine how to stave off the worst possible futures. And, Mystique kind of gives it to Charles Xavier, I think, as almost a cruel gift. It's like, here we go. This has brought upon anybody who's tried to figure out, anybody who's tried to decipher these diaries, just absolute misery and devastation. So why don't you have a go at it? Worst case scenario, you just ruin your life. Best case scenario, you figure it out and you stave off that future. So Destiny's kind of been like a standout character for the Krakoa era to me, and anything involving her I think is just fun now. So like I said, reading this book and, sort of the plot line being them trying to get those was really exciting. I also want to add that the team here for X-Treme X-Men had some characters that I've either been lukewarm on or just haven't read that much of. And for example, Rogue is a character I've generally been lukewarm on. I don't dislike her, but nothing about her has actually stood out to me so much so far in any of my readings. But this book has made me like her a lot more, and I think that's because it's just central to the plot. Her involvement, because Destiny and Mystique, if you don't know, are her adopted mothers. So everything that happens feels very personal to Rogue, and this whole mission is very personal to Rogue too, and so she's pretty introspective a lot of the time, and we get some great insight to her character that I feel I haven't gotten much in other stories. Bishop is also a member of the team, and he's also one of those characters who I was always just like, okay, I guess Bishop exists. I don't really know much about him. I don't care too much about him right now. And I learned a little more about him in this book. I got to know him a little better. I still am not the biggest fan. I kind of just don't like the whole detective vibe thing going on, or like the future cop thing he's got going on, but it is what it is, and I have learned to at least appreciate him a little bit more because of how he's written in this book and the sort of good for the team that he does in this book. I also really liked a new character that was introduced here that I haven't seen really pop up before. They look a little familiar, so I feel like they were in the background of something in Krakoa, but definitely not a major player, and that is Lifeguard, this really cool character who has almost Darwin-style abilities, where she can, whenever she needs saving or another life needs saving, her mutant ability manifests sort of an external way to save this person. So often her skin will turn gold when she's in danger as this kind of armor protecting her. She's done other things, like when she was being drowned at one point by Lady Mastermind, she kind of turned into a mermaid style creature. Just really cool. I like powers like that sort of don't really have a boundary or a limit to them and can be just endlessly explored by the creativity of the writer. She has a brother in here too, whose mutant name is Slipstream. He's pretty cool too. He's a surfer, and his power is sort of predicated on that whole surfer shtick. Like, it's kind of hard to describe, but he has this warp wave power that is basically a quantum portal that they can use to transport themselves across vast distances. It's explained way better in the book. It's hard for me to articulate it just on the spot here. I also do want to mention the art by Salvador Larroca. I keep hearing mixed things. It's funny. It seems like either people really love the artwork in this book or they really, really hate it. Myself, I'm not part of either of those factions. I'm kind of indifferent on the art here. It's not like my favorite style ever, but it's like unique enough that I'm like good with it, But yeah, guys, this is a really cool book, and I highly recommend checking this out if you're a big X-Men fan. It's a cool storyline that I think does have implications for, the greater Marvel universe a little bit, at least from the X-Men side of things. And I don't know the exact details of it, but I know Chris Claremont is going to be revisiting the X-Treme X-Men title. I don't know if it's kind of a relaunch or something, but if you're interested in that, then maybe read this first, as it's probably going to be the foundational story of whatever that is. So yeah, let me know if you guys pick this one up. Let me know if you enjoy it, and you guys have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all.